How's it going, guys? This is Zach with Grand Teton Harley-Davidson, and today we've got a treat. We are going to be riding the brand new Lowrider ST. Finally landed at the dealership. We're going to take this thing for a cruise. Now, if you guys already know about the channel, we've got a full walkthrough of this bike, just a full tech spec breakdown. But you know, we've got our dual front disc brakes, we've got our heavy breather on our 117 crate engine. I think it's about 103 horsepower, 125 pounds of torque. ST does stand for Sport Touring, so we've got these bags that came very similar to the bags that came on this Sport Glide. And then this fairing, which has been, you know, a little bit of a hot point in the community. Some of you guys like it, some of you guys don't. Let us know down in the comments. But the real thing is, if you want the specs, go check that video out. We're taking this thing for a first ride, and we're gonna give you guys our impressions of it. All right, here we go. Boy, I can't tell you how excited I am. Ever since that video dropped, I've been looking forward to this ride. Get out here on the street. You know, now right out the gate, you know, it feels just like a good bike, right? Woohoo! Yeah, you can feel that 117, that's for sure. Something you'll probably notice right away too is this gauge cluster. I know this has been a bit of a, you know, another little hot topic with this bike and people, but I don't know. We'll take it for a spin and see how it is. Obviously, I know a lot of people wanted that Bluetooth, but sometimes you get what you get and don't throw a fit with the motor company. Now, the really cool thing with this bike is that it's got a lot of heritage to it, right? Like a lot of community pieces to it, kind of that California style, club style build that has been so popular with these, you know, like the older FXRs and bikes with fairings. And just get out of this traffic here and try to get this thing opened up a bit. Yeah, but just looking at this little dash here, I mean, everything's bright enough you can really see. And honestly, I was never a big fan of the Lowrider placement here on the tank. So I really like the simplicity of this, even if maybe it's not everything everybody wanted. But you got your fuel, you got your speed, you got your mileage, brand new bike, pretty cool. And then, you know, you got all your little warning lights, neutral, blinkers, all really visible and good to use. I think the real thing for me is I want to get this thing on the freeway and see how she pulls and see how this fairing feels. I mean, you know, at low speeds, it's really hard to tell. So we're going to make our way over to the freeway here and give her a little rip. And I've ridden a lot of bikes like this, ridden a good handful of bikes with that 117. It's kind of exciting to see it in this more, you know, performance-minded, right, sport touring version of the Lowrider. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, ever since this thing launched, I've just been so excited to get on this thing, take it for a rip, see how she does. A lot of guys at the shop were saying that when it finally came in, a lot of them were pretty skeptical about that fairing up front, but seeing it in person was a little bit of a different experience. They were kind of excited about it. And right now it's here in beautiful old Idaho Falls, as is normal for the spring. It's pretty dang windy, and even at a low speed with all that wind, this fairing really is cutting a lot of it out. So we'll get it here up on the freeway and get some speed going here. I mean, you know, it's a brand new bike, so everything's gonna feel nice and shiny, but holy moly, she scoots. She scoots. And it's really interesting what Harley's doing with a lot of these platforms in that performance-minded area, right? We have the Sportster S, we got the Nightster, we got the ST versions of the Road Glide, Street Glide, and the Lowrider, which is pretty cool. We actually have a handful of these at the dealership, so what we really need to do is do a shootout. Let us know down in the comments if you guys want to see a shootout, putting some of these STs against that Sportster S. Because again, I know that bike's been a, you know, bike with a little bit of division in the community. Just visuals, right? That pipe really gets people. But man, I had the opportunity to ride that in Durango, and that thing scoots. So it'd be really fun to see it up against something like a Lowrider ST. That's interesting sitting here, man. She feels nice and lopey. Just kind of that, you know, just feels like she wants to go. And man, she will definitely go. Now, when we initially watched the video that Harley released, a lot of us were talking like, okay, cool, what would we do first? How would we do it? Why would we do it? You know, for different mods and stuff like that. And, you know, a lot of us were agreeing that it would be cool just to, you know, put a cam in this thing right out the gate and really wake that 117 up. But, man, and, you know, fast is a relative term, but, yeah, she definitely scoots. I can tell you right now, I'm real happy with how this fairing feels. Getting just a little bit of speed and waking it up a bit, but also with the winds that are here. I mean, we're dealing with 35+ mile-an-hour gusts today, and man, it's really impressive how much of this wind the fairing breaks. You know, I ride a lot of bikes without fairings, and so anytime I get on anything with a little bit of a fairing, I'm like, ooh, it's so nice. But, I mean, I've got a strong wind coming from the left. I mean, you can see that piece of sagebrush there blowing. And honestly, I'm not feeling a lot of pull on this bike at all. I'm about 5'11", just under 6 foot. So that kind of gives you an idea of, you know, where I'm sitting on the bike. But it's impressive. I'll tell you the other thing that I really notice out the gate as well, and is how comfortable the bike feels, you know. And in my opinion, you got to get about 100 miles in on a bike, you know, just kind of a solid 100-mile run to really see how comfortable it is. But I'm noticing, you know, really comfortable seating position, a lot of support on the lower back, which I really like personally. And for me, the controls here, everything's right where I want it to be. I'm not having to move my feet or my legs around too much. And like I said, you know, you get into some of this acceleration and it's really nice. You don't feel like you're sliding off the back of the saddle or anything like that. So, you know, initial impressions, really comfortable bike. And I mean, especially if you're just how we have been scooting around the city, you're not going to be sliding at all on this thing, that's for sure. But as I push against the back of that seat, I notice that it's really comfortable and it's got a lot of push to it. I'm not sliding at all. You know, honestly, especially, I mean, look at that flag, right? Like, honestly, especially when you live somewhere where it's windy and you're dealing with this wind all the time, it's really nice to have something that you don't feel like you're peeling off. And it's really nice to have something that's going to cut the wind. And I'll tell you what, we were going to go right, we're going to go left. We're going to actually go into the wind, and we're going to see really what this fairing's made of here. I'm interested to see with such a low fairing, you know, if we're going to get any buffeting or if we're going to get any weird pressure or anything like that. So we'll pop up the freeway here just a hair and turn around. I mean, I'm not going to lie too, you know, you going into the wind a little bit lets that motor wake up a little. Here we go. I mean, we're getting up to speed here now, and honestly, I got a little pressure on my helmet, but I'm not bobbing around at all. I'm not feeling my head get pulled back. I'm not feeling my head getting buffeted around, and that's with a huge headwind at, you know, a couple miles an hour here on the old interstate. Man, that's really impressive. And then as a result, again, I feel firmly seated on the bike, which is really nice. And man, you just kind of get into it. This is a comfortable bike. Now I'd have to go do some full-on sport touring, you know, to tell you for sure how comfortable or not comfortable she is, but it feels really good. Your legs out just enough that it doesn't feel like it's cramped backwards. That's usually when my feet and my legs start to have a problem. But not feeling that at all here, but I'm sure you could get some forward controls or some forward pegs on this thing if you needed to. If you were a taller guy, you might want to, because your legs might start to come, you know, back a little bit. Man, I am really impressed with this fairing, because it's not a big fairing. I mean, it doesn't come up high, you know, like an old bike does. And it's doing a pretty dang good job blocking that gnarly headwind. And a nice sure footing on the grip. Like I said, all the shifters, brakes, everything feels exactly where I'd want it to be. I don't know if you guys can see the reflection in the car there, but she's a good looking bike, I think. You already know where I stand on the looks of this thing. Let's see, is this entrance might be closed. Oh no, we can get in. A little bit of Idaho gravel, no big deal. Go slow. She's a new bike. There we go. Now we got that tailwind. Oh boy. Yeah, this bike scoots, that's for sure. You know, going into these twists and turns, I always like to feel, you know, how the bike responds. I don't like a bike that's squirrely, right? Like out in front. I don't like a bike that doesn't need a lot of input. And you definitely have to mean it moving this bike around. I mean, the thing just wants to track straight and just keep you down the highway. Which again, I mean, you know, something called sport touring, that's what you'd hope for, right? You know, and the more that I'm dealing with this gauge, honestly, I don't really have a problem with it. I'd like to see what it would look like at night. That would be another thing. We're not going to do a night review this round, but I think we are going to have to get one of these out on the open road and really put it through some touring paces. But like I said, I'd be really interested to see how that rides at night. But I mean, in the daytime, and I'm not sure how clear it'll come through for you guys, but I mean, I can see all my indicators here that aren't lit up. I can see all of my information that I need. So I don't know. You know, I'm a simple guy, really, guys. Like, I don't hook my Bluetooth up. I don't do any of that stuff when I'm riding. So for me personally, I really like the simplicity of this thing. I just don't have to think about it. I don't have to deal with it, right? I mean, this is very much get on the bike and rip type of bike. Not get on the bike, fumble with your phone for 20 minutes, try to get it to pair with something. And I don't know if it's just me, but I never have luck with my maps anyways. So I'll usually just get a grease pen and I'll write the instructions on my tank. Just go old school with it. I'm a bit of a Luddite, so I don't know if I'm the best judge if that's something you would want or not, but I can tell you right now, I really like it. And I mean, obviously I wouldn't expect anything less with how good the fairing did going into the wind, right? But coming out of the wind, like just normal riding right now, I'm barely feeling any of that wind at all. Zero buffeting. This Simpson helmet that I have on is the one I use for filming, and it fits a little loose, and I'm really not getting a lot of wind up the helmet or anything. And like I was saying earlier, we were talking about, I think actually this particular bike that I'm riding is going to get a cam and a couple upgrades right out of the box, just to wake that 117 up a little bit. But man, like I was saying, it doesn't take much to get her to go. Man, I really like how this thing feels on the road too. It's just really planted. I mean, it's not going anywhere unless you tell it to go somewhere. That feels real good. I don't think that'll ever get old. There's just something about it. I don't know what it is. I mean, you know, it's just just a 117. That engine was only available in the CVOs up until now, but I mean, it's a 117, but I don't know if it's the way the bike's balanced or how much it weighs, but man, it's got a little extra pepper to it. All right, here we are coming back in home. And I'm just tickled pink with how much fun this thing is to ride. Like I said, I've been looking forward to riding this thing since the announcement, and we finally got a couple here into the dealership, so I was like, hey, I could take her out for a ride. I wouldn't mind taking her for a spin. Well, that was a ton of fun. Thanks guys for coming along on the ride. That right there is the 2022 Lowrider ST, and man, she's a fun one. Did not disappoint, that is for sure. Did not disappoint. Let us know down in the comments what you guys thought of this video. Make sure to comment, like, subscribe, all that stuff. It helps us keep making these videos. And as we get more of these 2022 models in, we're going to take them for a ride, get you guys our first impressions. And yeah, a lot of bikes in Harley lineup. or have some people asking questions. So get down in the comments and let us know what you think of this one. All right, we'll catch you on the next one.